confidence. You can't be serious about that, can you?
I'm very serious about it.
Give him credit for that, because there's a lot of the bravery for running away when he got tired.
No, the bravery.
Sorry.
No, go on.
Sorry. From round one, running away, jumping up and down, falling down on the floor. Yeah.
He did not, but go ahead.
For a clown show, for a freaking clown show. Jake Paul embarrassed himself, embarrassed the sport, and embarrassed everyone that called himself.
Stephen A. Smith publicly checked Jake Paul following his brutal knockout defeat to Anthony Joshua in a live on-air interview. Smith grilled why Jake rushed into facing someone that elite so soon, labeling it a reckless choice. Jake fired back confidently, insisting he still has everything: the best team money can buy, elite training, and he swears this loss will not end his boxing journey at all now.
Definitely I need a few more fights. I'm not taking him on in my next bout, but a couple more years of experience with the team I got. I'm surrounded by the best team in the world possible that money can afford, so I'm getting exponentially better.
Following Jake Paul's clash with Anthony Joshua, Logan Paul stepped out to address backlash from fans and critics, brushing most of it off as haters determined to complain regardless. He explained that operating at this level automatically invites scrutiny, and this bout was no exception. Logan stressed that while nobody realistically believed Jake would beat a two-time Olympian, his brother's raw confidence and stubborn determination made the attempt impressive. Even after enduring a shattered jaw, Jake stayed upbeat, cracking jokes and filming content from the hospital, displaying resilience and genuine love for boxing. Logan pointed out that this mentality, pushing past fear and hardship, fuels Jake's ongoing rise. Despite losing, Logan frames the fight as a net positive, showcasing Jake's toughness and willingness to face challenges most people would never try, earning respect through perseverance instead of victory in the unforgiving world of boxing.
Haters gonna hate. It's just the name of the game, you know, when you're operating at the high level that my brother and I are, the haters come with it. I mean, statistically speaking, part-timer, I think the narrative's dead. I've been showing up every single Monday for the past month and a half. I've wrestled in 4 out of the 5 times I was there. I won every single match. So like, everyone who's yapping can now shut their trap because the narrative's dead.
I mean, you brought the receipts. I think that the proof stands for itself. And you mentioned your brother. Jake went 6 rounds on Friday night with Anthony Joshua. I know how proud you are of him. You were in the hospital with him afterwards. You called him an absolute warrior and said on your Instagram that his broken jaw won't break his spirit. How did you think, and what did you think of how the fight went down?
So, from strictly a logical point of view, I actually think it went down exactly as it was supposed to. I'm not sure anyone really thought that Jake was going to beat Anthony Joshua, but you have to understand, being his brother and in his close circle, he has this conviction that makes you believe, and he has this ability to defy reality and morph it into his vision of how it'll transpire that makes you think he'll win. However, like this was my opinion, this was a logical conclusion to the fight. The 2-time Olympian broke the influencer boxer's jaw. Like, okay, you know, we could have wrote it in a story and it would have made sense. That said, I think he did amazing. I'm incredibly proud of him. I think it was a net positive. I think the world can see now how tough Jake Paul is.
Eddie Hearn stepped forward to break down Jake Paul's showing against Anthony Joshua, saying critics screaming that Jake only ran completely missed the bigger picture. From the opening bell, it was obvious Jake stood almost no chance of beating a fighter of Joshua's level. Therefore, survival quickly became the real mission. Hearn explains the true test was how long Jake could stay upright, and he shocked everyone by lasting all 6 rounds. Plenty of people believed he wouldn't survive more than a couple, yet he showed serious resilience, somehow absorbing the power and skill of a top-tier heavyweight. Although Jake wasn't competitive in the traditional sense, Hearn insists merely surviving against an elite opponent counts as an achievement. Going 6 rounds under those circumstances spotlights Jake's toughness, mental grit, and capacity to cope with extreme pressure, making his performance impressive even in defeat, despite the loss overall for everyone watching worldwide.
Jake was running and Jake was hold. But listen, I mean, at the end of the day, Jake had one job, and that was to try and survive. I mean, he was never ever going to win the fight, ever. And if you would have said to me, do I think he'll go 6 rounds? I would have said absolutely not. I mean, I felt that it would take AJ a couple of rounds to get hold of him, because I knew Jake can move a bit and he'd be moving off the back foot and he'd be holding. But it was the way that he did it, I think, was actually quite impressive. Like, not that particular part, but the way that he would, the way that he was strong in the clinch. He wouldn't let AJ get his shots off in the clinch. He made him miss a few times. And obviously AJ's been out of the ring for a while. But to be honest, I think the most fascinating thing of the whole night in terms of the fight was how he didn't get flatlined by that right hand. I mean, I said going into the fight, he's probably going to take AJ a few rounds to get hold of him. And I also said, as soon as he lands clean, the fight's over, right? He landed a few before, but the first that he landed really clean was the final shot. But, he never flatlined Jake. I mean, he did break his jaw in 2 places, which is a disaster, but there are a lot of heavyweights that would have been out cold from that right hand. I mean, one of them was Francis Ngannou in a pretty similar shot, really. Do you know what I mean? So I actually give Jake unbelievable credit for doing it in the first place, but his performance as well. I mean, I stand by the fact that I think he's just a decent cruiserweight, but like, he did go in with Anthony Joshua, and look, the world is full of criticism and opinions and negativity. Who else is doing what he's doing at what is he, late 20s? I mean, quite phenomenal. I mean, the guy's a complete madman. I'm watching him come out to that ring walk, and he's just a...
Stephen A. Smith doubled down, saying Jake Paul cannot hide behind his YouTuber label when standing across from a real elite fighter like Anthony Joshua. Smith argues that if Jake still sees himself mainly as a YouTuber, he has no business stepping into the ring with top-level boxers. According to him, taking these high-stakes fights demands total commitment and respect for the professional grind, not leaning on fame or crossover hype.
Boxing trainers for years. He takes the sport very seriously.
Thank you. So let me ask you, that's the question I have, because great kid, great businessman, by the way, amazing, and I know how he does all this, the character and the persona. We keep saying that he doesn't want to be a boxer. He's not a boxer, but then
Jake Paul is a boxer.
Yeah, exactly.
That's my point.
Exactly. He's a boxer.
He can fight. I respect it. So go in there against fighters. You should be climbing the ladder towards those other fighters and taking the sport seriously to the point where you're fighting.
Derek Chisora refused to hand Jake Paul any real praise after his bout with Anthony Joshua, challenging the idea that simply entering the ring equals bravery. He brushed off claims from voices like Chris Eubank Jr., who argued Jake deserved credit for showing up and surviving 6 rounds. Chisora noted that Jake spent most of the fight running, dodging real exchanges, falling over, and throwing very few punches. In his view, bravery is not just showing up or tolerating pain for a paycheck. Real bravery, he said, is risking your life for something bigger, like fighting for your country. While Jake did sign up and compete, Chisora stressed that lasting 6 rounds against a professional like Joshua does not automatically earn respect for skill or courage. He slammed Jake for turning defeat into social media content instead of showing genuine fighting bravery.
You're fighting someone who you're supposed to it's not supposed to look competitive, he's not supposed to hit you, he's not supposed to go more than 3 rounds. But at the same time, you need to know how to control the pressure. I think AJ's demeanor in the build-up was someone who was like, you know what? Everyone's saying these things, but this is how I see it. Yeah, I rate him. He can box a bit. He did say in an interview with Steve Bunce that like, when he was talking certain things, there's a part of me that wants to punch him in his face, but I'm just gonna chill. And I feel like that's how he handled the immense pressure.
The last time we saw AJ fuming like this, like when he actually tried to do something, was with Dylan. So we should not judge him when he says something like this, because when he don't say nothing, we say, oh, why is he not saying anything back? Yeah. And when he says something...
An analyst insists that respect should never be attached to Jake Paul here, arguing the bout was always about cash, not real competition. Inside the ring, he says plenty was exposed, especially Jake's constant grabbing and holding, making him appear scared instead of composed. The analyst adds this response made sense because Anthony Joshua was not some washed fighter, but a dangerous, active heavyweight. He notes Joshua has a proven history of backing up his talk whenever he promises to hurt opponents. As the rounds went on and Joshua's shots crept closer, Jake grew increasingly defensive and desperate just to survive. According to the analyst, this wasn't courage or earned respect, it was pure self-preservation. He finishes by saying that with nearly $92 million on the line, most people would take that gamble, but a massive payday alone never automatically earns respect inside boxing today within the sport at the highest professional level.
And I think a lot of things were revealed inside the ring. You know, all the grabbing of the leg and stuff like that, that shouldn't have been. That almost looked like, it reminded me of Troy. You guys remember Troy when Orlando Bloom's character grabbed his brother's leg, You know what I mean? It looked like he was desperately scared, but I think he should have been desperately scared because AJ was coming to hurt him. This wasn't a Mike Tyson fight. He wasn't 58 years old. This dude is 36. And Anthony Joshua, like he said, because I've heard AJ say stuff like that. Hey, I'm going to F you up. He said the same thing to Helenius, because he thought Helenius was looking at him crazy. And it's like, what do you, why are you looking at me like that? Right? And Helenius like, and what happened to Helenius? He got knocked out, and needless to say, he tested positive for something. But yeah, so if you hear AJ say, hey, I'm going to F you up, oh yeah, that's what he means. And I think Jake Paul knew it. And I mean, he avoided a lot of big shots at the beginning of that fight, But then as AJ started getting closer and those punches started getting, more in range of hitting him, the grabbing happened a lot.
Chris Mannix and Sergio Mora put most of the blame squarely on Jake Paul while dissecting Anthony Joshua's 6th-round knockout victory. They argue Jake didn't just lose the fight, he embarrassed himself and the sport by exposing a lack of real boxing fundamentals. Mora explains that true fighters are conditioned to handle exhaustion, pain, and pressure, while Jake only learned how to throw punches, not how to fight when danger appears. According to them, Joshua clearly held back and managed the fight, choosing not to end it early despite having every chance to do so. They believe the bout should have finished far sooner because Jake spent more time running from exchanges than actually boxing. Mannix adds that when a skilled professional truly wants to hurt a non-fighter, the gap shows itself almost instantly. Both analysts label the fight disappointing for fans and harmful to boxing's image, calling it worse than expected and impossible to defend from any real sporting perspective.
Freaking clown show. Jake Paul embarrassed himself, embarrassed the sport, and embarrassed everyone that calls himself a fighter. And I've been telling you this for years. The thing about boxers is we train to be tired. We train to be hurt. We train to roll with punches. We train for a lot of things that this YouTube Disney star has been nobody. Never learned the trait. He never learned how to fight. He learned how to throw some punches. He learned how to box. And I told you it's because Jake Paul had the resources. He can have a head start in this career like you did in life, and you can make it out. But the thing is, when a fighter really wants to hurt another non-fighter, he can do it, and he can do it a lot easier and a lot faster. Anthony Joshua played with his food, and I'm going to tell you right now, he played with his food. I don't think he should have went to the 6th round, maybe the 4th at latest, because Jake Paul was running. He wasn't boxing. He was running, and every time he had a chance to try to tackle Anthony Joshua in fear, he was on his knees. It looked like he was praying. Jake Paul spent more times on his knees than you did in college praying for a girlfriend. It was embarrassing, Chris Mannix. It was embarrassing. And all the people that tuned in to Netflix and everyone else, just like the Mike Tyson fiasco that happened a couple of years ago, we feel disgusted for having to watch that.
I'm not going to defend the fight. It was a bad fight. It was actually worse.
You're not going to put him on. You're not going to put him on the cover of Sports Illustrated again?
No, because we put him on the cover of Sports Illustrated for very different reasons than boxing. It was a power issue.
Ben Shalom viciously slams the Anthony Joshua versus Jake Paul matchup, branding it a freakish circus that pushes past a dangerous boundary. He argues that while certain crossover spectacles can be brushed off, this pairing is different due to the genuine risks involved. As a boxing promoter, Shalom says he constantly witnesses how serious the medical reality of boxing is and how quickly fights can turn dangerous when not managed correctly. He cautions that these fights get sold as entertainment and fast cash grabs until someone takes severe damage. According to Shalom, this type of bout turns boxing into a joke and damages the sport's reputation. He adds that many figures in the industry stay quiet because money is involved, yet fans, younger audiences, and sponsors could begin to think this is what boxing really represents. Shalom warns that boxing sits one punch away from tragedy and insists there is zero justification for a mediocre fighter from another background leaping weight divisions to face a two-time world champion.
Ben, on the Jake Paul, Anthony Joshua circumstance. I mean, a lot of people talking about the discredit it does to boxing. I don't put it in the category of boxing. I put it in the category of entertainment, and Anthony Joshua being introduced to America as a media star. What's your overall view of what it does or doesn't do for boxing? Jake Paul being licensed in a fight that many people think that he shouldn't have been licensed to fight, in a commission that often does that. As a promoter, do you think it's a bad look for boxing, or are you thinking it doesn't really matter? It's not really what boxing's about.
I usually and have said in the past that things can be things, you know, you've got to take it for what they are. But in this occasion, I do think it is a freak show, if I'm honest. I also think it's dangerous. I'm sat here as a boxing promoter and I see what goes on with the medicals before and after fights and how dangerous the sport is. And I saw Callum Simpson, the fight should have been stopped way before it was, but was in trouble on Saturday night. It's all a bit of fun and it's all a money grab until someone gets seriously hurt, seriously damaged, and then the whole sport comes into disrepute. For me, it makes a mockery of the sport of boxing. For me, no one in the industry wants to talk badly about it because everyone's lined, the pockets are getting lined. And when you look at that, and kids will look at that, and fans will look at that, and sponsors will look at that and think that that is boxing, as I say, we're one punch away from something serious. And yeah, it's
Ben, on the flip side of that argument, mate, you will tell me that you knew that Chris Eubank wasn't right to go into that fight.
No, but Simon, let's be completely honest, right? Whatever you want to say about that fight, these are two experienced professional fighters. Chris Eubank Jr. has been in fights previously.
Duke McKenzie blasts the overall standard of opposition Jake Paul keeps facing, making it clear he considers it painfully weak competition. He argues fighters from his own gym, many of them far from elite pros, could look just as good or even better in these crossover circus bouts. McKenzie ridicules the notion of being crowned a world champion after a brief fight versus soft opposition, suggesting the title carries very little value. He adds these fights are more about easy cash than real danger, claiming his gym fighters wouldn't even get hurt. He also vents frustration over athletes from other sports jumping into boxing, stressing boxing remains an elite craft that should never be treated casually or watered down by novelty-style competitions.
Take a lot of my time and a lot of my patience to train these guys. Now, they don't know a right hook from a meat hook. They don't know a jab, from a proper boxing jab to a jab in the arm with an injection. They haven't learnt the basic fundamentals. Nobody's taught them to keep their hands up and their chin down. Nobody's taught them how to jab properly. Like I say, these guys were just swinging shots on a wing and a prayer, and it was quite painful to watch. I don't know who coaches these guys. I don't know. Maybe they're MMA, maybe they're kickboxers, maybe they're professionals in their chosen field, but they're not being trained by boxing coaches. That's clear. What I would do, you'd have to strip them down and start from square one. And I mean, I've got a lot of guys in my gym, and a lot of these guys probably would do better if they entered this Misfits competition. I'd have guys from my gym calling themselves world champion, because at the end of the 6 rounds, Timur was crowned and still heavyweight world Misfits champion. Well, if that's the level of opposition, I might even head a few of my guys into that, see if they can't nick a few quid. They're not going to get hurt. It's what surprises me about all of these crossover organisations that want to, you've got footballers that want to be boxers, you've got MMA that want to be boxers, you've got boxers that want to be boxers, you've got table tennis, you've got cricketers, you've got name any sport you want.
That's all for today's video. Stay locked. Until next.